Hey, I'm Haley O'Toole. I do historic interpretation here at the garden. I recently curated an exhibit called Life at Home, which is about Dr. Trelease, our garden's first director. Because of that, I've been getting a ton of questions about what an herbarium is. So I thought it would be cool to go behind the scenes and learn a little bit more about why an herbarium is so important here at the Missouri Botanical Garden. Come with me. So, can you tell me where we are?
Well, you're in the herbarium at the Missouri Botanical Garden. This is an absolutely fabulous collection and is used by hundreds and hundreds of research scientists around the world to learn about the diversity of plants.
And can you tell me who you are?
I'm Jim Solomon. I'm the director of the herbarium and have been for quite some years. And this is my passion. I love this collection.
Tell me, what is an herbarium?
An herbarium is a collection of pressed and dried plant specimens mounted on paper. Here's a specimen of a species of eucalyptus that has been introduced in California and is commonly cultivated. The basic specimen shows the leaves and the flowers and the young fruits. Also, it has a label which tells where it was collected, when, by whom, and gives some other features about the plant, as well as its scientific name.
So I hear you pulled some specimens today. Can we go look at them?
Why, sure.
So tell me a little bit more about some of the pieces of an herbarium specimen.
Well, many of the specimens that we have a plant mounted on a single sheet of paper. Other plants where we have to make more than one sheet for it. Each of these parts has some very specific information on it. Obviously, this is a dried leaf and a few flowers, a packet here which contains additional flowers that are loose and are not mounted to the sheet. The basic label telling where it was collected. This particular one was collected in St. Croix in the Caribbean by William Trelease in 1907. So each of the specimens has that label on it. In this case, there are additional components which provide more information. For example, there are photographs of the living plants that were taken in 1907. And there's also some additional photographs from another specimen and some notes that Trelease had taken. Now, in addition to things which are mounted on the sheet, there are some other items on these. One of them is an accession number stamped on it, which tells that it is from the Missouri Botanical Garden Herbarium and has a unique number. There's also a barcode. The barcode is a unique identifier which connects the physical object with the database.
Wow.
And then the third component of it is the fact that it says Tropicos image stamped on here, which means that these specimens and their content are available online.
So tell me about some of your favorite samples that you have in the herbarium.
When you have 7.5 million specimens to choose from, it's really hard to decide on a
Yes.
favorite. I guess the best way to talk about this is just from my own experience. I've been collecting plants since I was in college. I lived in Bolivia for almost 8 years as a garden staff member. And wherever I've gone, I've always collected specimens as part of projects. This is just one example, which I think is particularly interesting because this specimen is a sample from Puya Raimondi, which is the world's largest bromeliad. This is a photograph of the mature plant. What's really unusual about these plants is they're very rare, and once they reach a certain size, they flower and set seed, and then the entire plant dies. The information that's on these labels here came from what we call a field book, or it's basically a catalog And every botanist maintains catalogs like these, starting with number 1 to increment it one specimen at a time throughout their entire career. So we have staff members who have collected more than 100,000. I haven't reached those kinds of numbers, but I've collected a lot of material over the years. These herbarium specimens or museum specimens like these are essentially the only permanently preserved objects of plant diversity that we have available. For the vast number of the world's species, we don't really know anything about them. In a very real sense, those museum collections are the only permanently preserved samples of the diversity, and they form the basis of our knowledge. And then when you compare that to the number of individual plants that have lived on the surface of the earth since people started collecting these things 300 or 400 years ago, we've really preserved a vanishingly small sample, and yet that is the basis of our knowledge.
Because of all of these specimens around us, we can learn more about the world around us. We continue to stay committed here at the garden to growing this collection with researchers gathering new specimens every day all around the world. Thanks for joining me today, and we look forward to answering your questions in the future.